Now, the people of Zimbabwe go to the polls in exactly a week's time. And for the first time in 38 years, Robert Mugabe is not on the ballot paper. A record 23 presidential candidates and 55 parties have signed up for the election. Polls indicate it could be a tight race between Nelson Chamisa from the main opposition party, the Movement for Democratic Change, and current President Emmerson Mnangagwa. The BBC's Shingai Nyoka reports from Harare.
Zimbabwe's opposition is unhappy. They are protesting on the streets of the capital, Harare, and fear that Zimbabwe could be heading for another stolen election. Robert Mugabe's rule ended last November, but the mistrust he sowed during his 37 years in power still runs deep. Opinion polls show opposition candidate Nelson Chamisa is closing the gap on his main rival Emmerson Mnangagwa, but his party, once awash with funding, is struggling to campaign on a shoestring budget. Peter Chabeka is an MDC politician campaigning for a rural parliamentary seat. He came to Harare to print just 50 campaign posters. It's all he can afford. We went with Peter to his rural constituency, an area that was severely affected by violence in previous elections, to meet with those who had paid a heavy price for their loyalty to the MDC. Jackson Mazarurwa told us his story of those terrifying days.
I was surprised to see the whole field surrounded by youth. There were around 300 youth. Then they beat us. They dug some graves. The youth were coming to their shifts to report that we finished digging the graves.
And whilst Peter may be able to campaign freely in this election, the absence of violence may not mean the absence of intimidation. Village head Nyson Kurima came to tell us that he has been warned.
They told me that you should tell the people that they should vote for ZANU-PF. And if they didn't vote for ZANU-PF, we will burn the houses of the people and beat them.
Nelson Chamisa himself was not spared. In 2007, he was attacked at Harare airport as he was about to board a flight. He says little has changed.
I want to disabuse you of this false impression of a changed environment. There's a lot of talk, but no walk.
Violence?
Yes, there's soft violence. There's technical violence. I've given you elements of the technical violence. Soft violence, you go into the raw areas. People are being subjected to abuse of food as a political weapon. You don't get food if you don't support ZANU-PF.
This is an election like no other, conducted in an environment that appears to have broken from the past. International observers are on the ground, some for the first time in 16 years. But Zimbabwe's credibility rests on an outcome that will be accepted by all. This is a wounded nation, desperate to move forward and eager on July the 30th to take that first step. Shingai Nyoka, BBC News, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Well, we did put those allegations of violence mentioned in that story to ZANU-PF. They say they are not instructions from the top, but of individual rogue elements who should be reported to authorities.